Garcia. Shout out to Jay Calderon Boxing. Make sure you guys watch it.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Jay Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment, and we're about to get into this week's boxing talk. It's official. PBC has announced their Fox television network for 2019 lineup, and it's boxing coming to free television for all boxing fans. Some of these fights are pretty good, solid fights. Some of them are not so great fights. But the biggest fight of them all is the launching of PBC on Fox pay-per-view. It's their first pay-per-view telecast that they're about to launch off, and it's going to be March 16th. Undefeated IBF welterweight champion Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. taking on 4-division world champion Mikey Garcia, who's going to be moving up to 147-pound weight division for his first fight in the welterweight division. And it's a very big step up for Mikey Garcia because he's going up against one of the most dangerous welterweight champions in the division. Errol Spence is a very big guy, and this fight right here is labeled as a mismatch to some. A lot of people are saying, why is he fighting a lightweight? And this is just something that Mikey Garcia has asked for. Mikey Garcia was the one that called out Errol Spence, and he said that he wanted to dare to be great. He wanted to step up and show what true champions are really made of. And you gotta tip your hats off to Mikey Garcia. You have to give this man respect for having the balls to go up there to 2 weight divisions above his weight class and take on such a tough challenge in his very first fight in the welterweight division. He's not playing around. This is for history. It's to become a 5th division world champion, to really beat the man that a lot of people say is the most avoided man in the welterweight division. You know, other fights could have been made. If Mikey Garcia would have stood at lightweight and defended his title against his mandatory challenger, Richard Comey, then what would Errol Spence would have done? You know, who would he have faced? They would have probably lined him up against somebody like perhaps Luis Collazo would have got the call to stay busy. But you can't blame Terence Crawford, the guy that many people consider pound for pound the best fighter in the world, a 3-division world champion who now holds a WBO welterweight title. Bob Arum, who promotes Terence Crawford, said that he was willing to sit down with Al Heyman to make this fight on pay-per-view. He's available for that March date. But the thing about Al Heyman, what they do with all their PBC fighters, they like to stay in-house. These guys are not going to make the big significant fights with other promoters on other networks. They're just not going to do that. They have a deal now with Fox, where Fox gave them a lot of money to put on a lot of shows on their network, and this is the first launching of PBC for pay-per-view on Fox. And this is why this fight is happening, because the reality of boxing is that Mexico versus African American sells. And it's not going to sell if you have 2 African Americans fighting each other. Now, I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but it's the reality. We've seen it with Don King. We've seen it with Bob Arum. We've seen it with Golden Boy Promotions. And now we're seeing it with Al Heyman in his blueprint, with guys fighting each other like Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, or Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia, or even Jesse Vargas and AB also against Mikey Garcia. It's the blueprint. It's what sells in boxing. People have this rivalry, and this is what really sells tickets. And Mikey Garcia, who's a Mexican, fighting in Texas, the backyard of Errol Spence, is going to sell pretty well. They're going to be fighting in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, and it's going to be a very hot ticket seller over there because Errol Spence is from Texas. He has a fan base out there, and then we're going to see the Mexican fans that love Mikey Garcia come out and try to get a really big crowd on hand. How will he do on pay-per-view? You know, that's another question. They're going to have to really promote this fight. Fox is going to get totally behind this fight right here, so it should get a lot of promotion. It's going to be a great, great event, you know, to have these 2 fighters fight each other. Now, Mikey Garcia, he's a huge underdog in this fight. He's moving up in weight, 2 weight divisions to take on a very tough challenge. Errol Spence is a southpaw fighter. He's a very big welterweight. He could perhaps even fight at junior middleweight someday, or even middleweight. That's how big this guy is. He's undefeated, he's young, he's hungry, he has very good boxing skills, good footwork, better hand speed, and more punching power than Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is a bit slow, and he has punching power, but he's not going to be able to carry that power up to 147 pounds. Mikey might feel a little bit stronger. He is a very good technical boxer. He has a very good ring IQ. This guy is a smart fighter that has championship experience. He's been in these big fights before, something that Errol Spence has only done once with Kell Brook. And this is going to come down to who has the better game plan. And will the size factor be a very big factor for Mikey Garcia? Because we know that weight classes are here for a reason. And Mikey Garcia is doing something very few people have done and been successful in their careers. And one fight comes to mind. Roberto Duran. He was a great career lightweight that moved up 12 pounds in weight to face Sugar Ray Leonard. Leonard was the favorite. Leonard was the one who was the bigger man. He had the better boxing skills. He had the faster hands, and he was the star of the division, and he was expected to win that fight. But it was Roberto Duran that gave a great fight and pulled out the upset victory in that fight. And that's what Mikey Garcia is trying to emulate. He's trying to be that Roberto Duran and beat this man, Errol Spence, and send shockwaves through the boxing world as a guy that wants to become one of the greatest fighters of all time and become a 5-division world champion by capturing that IBF title. Will he be able to do it? I don't really know. I'm going to be pulling for Mikey Garcia because I've been a day one fan. I like Errol Spence a lot. I think he's a great fighter, but his team did not make any effort to face Terence Crawford. And that's the big fight of the division because Terence Crawford was available. Bob Arum was willing to sit down to make this pay-per-view fight. They could have did it on the same date. They perhaps could have did it over there in Dallas as well. But Al Heyman and his team did not want to even negotiate this fight. He wanted to keep it in-house with Mikey Garcia. He wanted to sell the Mexican versus the African-American in Dallas, Texas. So this is what it's all about. It's all about the politics of boxing. When is these two guys gonna actually fight? We don't really know. It's gonna be a difficult fight. The same way Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather took 6 years to make a fight together because these guys did not want to come together unless the pot was so ridiculously big that they had to make the fight happen. And that's what this fight is going to come down to. You know, when will Terence Crawford and Errol Spence be big enough so that the money is big enough for everyone so that they can make this fight on a major pay-per-view scale? Now, also another fight that was announced is the return of Keith One-Time Thurman, the WBA welterweight champion. You know, he's coming back from almost a 2-year layoff. He's going to be fighting tough game veteran Josito Lopez. This is a good fight. It's not a bad fight. It's not a really great fight, but you got to understand that Keith Thurman has been on a very long layoff due to injury, due to a lot of things that is going on in the background. You know, they're saying that he's avoiding everybody. I still believe that he is the #1 welterweight in the division. He's still undefeated. He's still a world champion. He was the unified champion, and he's coming off of 2 back-to-back big wins against Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. You know, you got to give him credit. You got to still keep him up there as the man to beat to become the king of the division. Keith Thurman just wants to get back into the ring and shake off the ring rust. This is a good fight because Josito Lopez is coming off a good win over Miguel Cruz, an up-and-coming undefeated prospect. It was a good fight. Josito Lopez pulled off the upset in that fight. So he's in the winning circle right now, and he gets the big fight opportunity to fight for the world title. And he's going to give Keith Thurman a good workout. He's going to go in there and he's going to show a game performance. He's going to be there for most of the fight, but Keith Thurman is a big welterweight as well. He has that power. How much would the ring rust affect Keith Thurman in this fight? Plus coming off an injury, this fight could go 12 rounds or it can end in a late round stoppage, depending on how Keith Thurman performs in this fight is really what's going to tell how this fight is going to play out. And I look forward to it because it's going to be on Fox Television Network, free TV for boxing fans, and it's going to be a pretty good fight to see Keith Thurman back in business. And then they're going to look perhaps for a rematch with Sean Porter to try to get back that WBC welterweight title that he owned, because the WBC organization has already said that Keith Thurman has first dibs on a title shot against Sean Porter. Now, Sean Porter is going to face one of his other mandatories that the WBC ridiculously put in there against Cuban welterweight contender Ugas. He's a tough guy, a good fighter, but he's a guy that has already been beaten 3 times. So I don't expect a lot from Ugas against Sean Porter. I expect Sean Porter to put down the beating on this dude. Will Sean Porter knock him out? Probably not. It'll probably be a boring, ugly fest for 12 rounds, and Sean Porter will be the victor in that fight and have his first title defense in his backyard of Las Vegas. And he'll be staying active while waiting for Keith Thurman in a showdown perhaps in the summertime. That's a big fight. It's a great fight. The first fight was a really good fight, and these guys are going to do it again while Errol Spence has his big pay-per-view showdown to grow his fan base. And then we'll have another fight with Errol Spence throughout the year, probably against Luis Collazo, and then we'll see the big showdown, the big unification for all three of the title belts in 2020. This is a strategy that Al Heyman has done throughout the years. He'll give you one big fight, and then he'll carry on to the next year by throwing in fillers with some other fighters that are not fighters that boxing fans truly want to see, but it's the way of keeping these guys somewhat busy and keeping them active, and then lining them up for a bigger build-up for a big fight showdown. So we're not going to see Errol Spence versus either Sean Porter or even Keith Thurman until 2020. And we may not see Terence Crawford in this mix between any of these guys for perhaps late 2020. That's how far out that I see this matchup taking place with any of the PBC fighters with Bud. You know, it's going to be a 2-year plan before that fight is able to materialize to a very big money pay-per-view showdown. But that's my final take on the upcoming fights that PBC has launched, with Errol Spence taking on Mikey Garcia and the return of Keith one-time Thurman. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to this YouTube channel, J. Calderon Boxing Talk. Please hit that little red subscribe button, hit that bell icon, hit the like button, share this video, drop a comment. Also, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, and also join the Facebook boxing group page, all under the same name, J. Calderon Boxing Talk. I'm J. Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment. Thanks for your support, keep watching, and please subscribe.